My name is Nick Steigerberg. I'm a solution architect in development shared services, and it was my honor to have my thunder stolen by our CIO today. What a great talk on why we're here. I want to talk about something that's similar, but a little bit different. Why are we here today? Are we here to learn JavaScript? Are we here because we're employees of the Mayo Clinic, because we're developers? What's our underlying why? Why are we here today? I'm going to make the argument to you that we're here because everyone in this room and everyone on the phone, sorry if I might forget you in my talk here today, is a great developer. Now you might call BS on that. You might look around the room and say, oh no, I don't think that's true at all. But wait about 19 minutes, and my hope is that everybody who leaves this room today or signs out of the WebEx leaves a great developer. We've got a lot of ground to cover. That's a good start too. This is a cargo cult. It's a neat concept I stole from my friend Aaron Van Epps. It was first discovered in World War II when GIs were stationed in the South Pacific, and there were indigenous tribes on the islands where they were stationed. And these indigenous tribes saw the cargo that the GIs brought with them. They brought food and exotic goods, cargo that they wanted. They wanted to have that cargo for themselves, so they built flawless imitations of everything the GIs had. They built satellite dishes and airplanes. They made guns out of bamboo and marched in formation, thinking that if they just perfectly imitated this other group that had what they wanted, they too would experience that same success. They didn't need to understand the underlying causes or the how or the why. If they just got the what, they'd have their cargo. Seems a bit far-fetched, I know, but I assure you this is real. And you're probably wondering, what does this have to do with anything? But we as an institution, and we as a profession, we're more guilty than most of creating cargo cults, aren't we? How many times in your career as a developer has someone come to you and said, okay, waterfall. Waterfall is where it's at. If we do waterfall, we're going to have amazing outcomes. Okay, no, I'm sorry, it's Agile. It's actually Scrum, which is Agile. No, it's Kanban. That's Agile too. It's Lean. But we can do Lean and we can do Agile. If we just do Lean, all these other people out there, they've got Lean, they've got great outcomes. We get obsessed with processes and tools over people and interactions. How many times has someone come to you and said, okay, use TFS. We've got to use TFS. If everybody in the enterprise uses TFS, we're going to get so much work done. It's going to be amazing. How's your TFS rollout going in your department? If we get on Eclipse instead of RAD, forget that they're the same tool. If we get on Eclipse, we're good. If we get on Tomcat, everyone's doing Tomcat, we're good. We could even get hundreds of developers together in a room and say, you know what? Everyone's doing JavaScript these days. If we just, all the other languages are dead. If we do JavaScript, we're going to have great outcomes. So everybody will do this 2-day camp. We're going to learn JavaScript. We're going to be amazing. We're going to have amazing outcomes because all these other people do too.
Hey Nick, could you stand a little closer to the phone?
Absolutely.
Not right on top of it, but just a little.
My friend Laura Bates, while we were planning this event and she's writing the big checks, she never failed to remind me that we're spending a sick person's dollar. We're spending a lot of sick person's dollars in this room today. I hope we're not doing it to create a cargo cult. Oh, I don't know what's going on there. Wouldn't be a presentation without some technical difficulties, right? There we go. How do we avoid creating a cargo cult? This is a really interesting graph. I love the low fidelity. It really drives the point home. This graph was created by Steve McConnell, one of the most influential people in the history of software engineering, up there with Bill Gates and Steve Jobs. Wrote Code Complete, the Bible on software development. What does he think about development methodology? So this is a scatter plot, a box and whisker plot, depending on the statistician you talk to, and it's a way of showing variation in data. So there's all these studies out there that say, okay, we're going to have one team that does Lean and another team that does Agile, another team that does Kanban. Let's compare their outcomes and see how things go. Which is the best methodology out there? He turned that on his head. He did a meta-analysis of all these studies, He got their individual data points and he said, amongst all teams, amongst all methodologies, what's the variation amongst individual developers? It's an order of magnitude. It's off the chart. What's our variation amongst all teams and all developers? Drop those out and isolate for methodology. It's an order of 2. It barely moves the needle. In the best case, if we got everyone at Mayo onto Agile or Lean or Scrum, we're going to double productivity, which is great, don't get me wrong. But in the worst case, we're going to create a cargo cult. How often in your career have you felt like that fella marching in formation? Gosh, that burns. How do we move the needle? How do we get to the left side of that chart? Let's talk about how big this difference really is. Steve Jobs said the difference between a good and a great developer is between 50 and 100 to 1. Bill Gates said it's 10,000 to 1. Let's get really specific. If I'm a good developer, and my friend Brady Hullpeter, that you're going to hear from later today, is a great developer, we've been at Mayo for the same amount of time, we're writing the same app, we're on the same team, we're writing the same language, everything's the same. And I'm going to spend a week writing that piece of software. Brady's going to finish in 2 hours. This is not fiction, this is reality. This is what every study of developer productivity has revealed. 1 week, 2 hours. What's worse, it's going to take another week just to fix my software. That's assuming we have a week to spare and we don't ship it out to production before we fix my bugs. My software is going to be 1,000 lines of code. His is 200. My software takes a minute to run. His is done in 6 seconds. How do we move the needle on this? The situation is probably quite a bit worse than that, right? Because let's get real for a second here. Let's get real. My friend Brady, a great developer, he creates assets for our organization that improves the lives of patients. I make liabilities that might make patients' lives worse. We are in a line of work that is sink or swim. An Olympic swimmer can swim 2.5 miles per hour distance. I can swim 1.5 miles per hour. I'm an average swimmer. And so if we were swimming in a lap pool, maybe we could hire 2 average swimmers to swim as far as an Olympic athlete, something like that. But that's not our line of work. 5 men can't make a baby in a month, or sorry, 9 men can't make a baby in a month. We can't hire 10 average developers to reproduce the work of a single developer. Have you ever been on a team like that? It's a challenge. Our job is to cross the English Channel. And that Olympic swimmer who can swim a little bit faster than me, he can make it. I'm going to get halfway through. You're going to have to send helicopters and boats and submarines to come rescue me. I am a liability to my organization just by trying. That's how bad this situation is. Now, right about now, you're probably thinking, man, this is dark. Where is he going with this? I want to get out of here. Well, buckle in, because we're about to take a hard turn. What is a great developer? I would argue that a great developer, is not a state of being, it's a state of mind. We have a somewhat toxic culture in our line of work. How many women are there in this room? We're obsessed with rock star developers who can do no wrong. They blow up production all day. Who cares? They get the job done. And we think that these people are made of gold. We think that if you have 20 years of experience on the job, if you're the most talented guy out there, I said that very deliberately, the most talented guy out there, you're the guy for the job. I would argue that being a great developer is not talent, it's not skill, it's not experience, it's not opportunity. Being a great developer is a state of mind, it's a choice you make. And I would ask everyone in this room, if they didn't walk in that door today as a great developer, that they make the choice right here, right now, to be a great developer. I'm sincere, I'm talking to you right now, the person that came here today to get a day off of work, see what's out there, make the choice. Right now, it's in your hands. Be a great developer. Walk out of this room today a great developer. But what does that mean? This has been a very fluffy talk so far. So I've got a few principles here that I soften with comical memes, and I hope that helps a little bit. And I would argue that if you follow a few simple principles that don't change, Principles that are timeless. You will be a great developer. And the first one is you're dedicated to quality work and continuous improvement. We are in an amazing field where it's constantly changing. That's a challenge. And if you ever get to a point in your career, whether it's 6 weeks or 6 months or 6 years, where you just kind of get comfortable with how things have been, that's when you go from being a great developer to being a good developer. Don't get comfortable. Push yourself. Try to achieve things that you never thought were possible before. Collaborate with your peers. Continuously improve. Your first job as a developer is to learn to do better work. Your second job as a developer is to do work. Second principle, don't reinvent the wheel. We all know we're not supposed to do it, but we still do it all the time. I do it all the time. Stop. Sometimes it's hard, but it's always worth it. I have never in my career said, oh man, I really hate that I used that best practice. That was really a terrible idea. I shouldn't have done that. Can't tell you how many times I've done a one-off. I've written that one-liner, shoveled it into production, and that's never a good idea. Don't reinvent the wheel. Reuse code, reuse solutions, collaborate with your peers, find the problems that have already been solved and how they apply to the problems that you're solving today. Concretely, and this is probably, okay, my presentation got off a slide there. Which one did we miss? Were we on this one before? Awesome. So concretely, this means that your principal job as a developer is to consume and produce reusable code. Now, some people, this might make perfect sense to them. Others, this might sound a little bit crazy, because I know that when I started as a developer, I thought it was my job to write code, right? That's why I went to school, to learn how to write code. And the more code I write, the more work I'm getting done, the more productive I am. But that's probably not true. Most of the solutions that I architect today have 80 to 90% reuse of existing code. I want to write as little code as possible. Lean measures value by the amount of work not done. That's our charge as developers, to maximize the amount of work not done. Every line of code that we write is a line of code we've got to maintain from here until eternity. Every line of code we write is something that we could be making a bug, is something that may not be the best. My friend Brad DeYoung sent me this awesome blog article. It said, you don't know how hopelessly bad you are at security, because you don't find out you've got a bug until it's too late. Should you be rolling your own security, or should you be reusing someone else's security? I try not to write my own security, that's for sure. The neat thing about this is that it's multiplicative. It's geometric. There's no limit to code reuse. So let's say you are the first developer on Earth. There's no code out there. You have to have 100% brand new code for this project. Package up that code and make it reusable. Share it with your community, because you have a community of developers, even though you're the first developer. Run with me on it. That second project, I bet half of the stuff you're doing is what you did the first time around. 50% code reuse out of the gate. Look at that return on investment. But it doesn't go down from there, because that 50% that you had to write, share that. And on the third project, you're at 75%, and 80%, and 90%, and 99%. I've collaborated with teams who have 99.999% code reuse. They're just combining Legos in new ways that no one's ever done before, and they can achieve incredible things. There's no limit to this. Fundamentally, being a great developer is being heads up. Maybe 50 years ago, it made sense to go buy a book on Fortran, or what would be the oldest programming language that no one here is writing. Never mind. We go buy a book on something, and we sit down at our desk, we've got our spec doc, and we hammer it out for a day, a week, a month, a year, and that was how you developed code. But with tools like Maven and NuGet, you have the ability to share code. With tools like DevGuide, you can collaborate with your developers here at Mayo, and tools like Stack Overflow, you can collaborate with your developers across the world. Collaboration sometimes does take the form of Control-C, Control-V, and that's okay. Probably half the code I've ever written is from Stack Overflow, right? It might make you a little uncomfortable. Maybe you need to get rid of your desktop computer and trade it in for a laptop. Maybe you need to flee your cubicle. Burn it to the, no, don't burn it to the ground. Just don't go back. And get to a conference room with your laptop and do work. Don't talk about doing work. Do work. Sit down with other developers. Collaborate. Do code review. Do extreme programming, mob programming, pair programming, any kind of programming, as long as it's with someone else. Learn from their mistakes and hopefully from their successes. Help them learn from yours. Get out on the Open Developer Network, check out code, leverage the code templates in the Innovation Sandbox. This stuff is real. It can make you a better developer today. You can walk out if you're a great developer, check out one of these code templates, and look like that rock star developer in your day-to-day. This is real. This isn't hypothetical. This isn't academic. Become a great developer today. Make the choice. I'm going to keep skipping slides. We talked about how our line of work is sink or swim. There's another side of that spectrum. We have a truly unique line of work where when we collaborate with one another, we can stand on the shoulders of giants and we can see further than we ever could have seen before. Have you ever owned an application and you make that application 10 times faster? You add that killer feature that that user really wanted. Did it just let them do more of the same work? Of course not. It fundamentally changed the way they use your application. It fundamentally changed the way they thought and felt about your application. It fundamentally changed the way they thought the future looked for your application, what they thought was possible. That's when you start getting feature requests for fix world hunger, please. It's an amazing feeling, isn't it? When your users think that anything is possible. Would we have any lesser expectations for ourselves? When you have 99% code reuse, you are 100 times more powerful. You stand on the shoulders of the giants in this room. Look at everyone in this room, all of these great developers. When you collaborate with them, when you share and reuse code, anything is possible. I hope that motivates you. The opportunity for limitless potential motivates you. If it doesn't, I don't know what could motivate you, quite frankly. I do have one more thing, actually, that might motivate you. I'm going to ask my wife to come up here. This is my son, Shepard Soderberg. He was born 10 weeks ago here at Mayo. This is my son. It was a challenging birth. Children are the most important thing to me. The protocol by which he was born here doesn't even exist at most hospitals. I'm not a doctor, but my wife is. She assures me with complete bias that we have received the best healthcare in the world. Nowhere else would we have attained the same outcomes, I believe is the technical term a physician would use. We all have the unique privilege to work at a place that doesn't make widgets. It doesn't make money. It makes people's lives better. I can't believe I work here. I can't believe I have that privilege. I can't believe I have the honor, the obligation, the duty to be the best developer that I can be so that I can put the needs of the patient first, so that I can change people's lives. That's why I want to be a great developer. When you leave this room today, please don't leave a member of a cargo cult of JavaScript. Please leave a great developer. Thank you.